Look, I said it yesterday on the postgame show, Jody. This is a good team.
And welcome into another undefeated Monday. We've said this a couple weeks in a row now. We'll continue to say it for a couple of weeks if the Eagles continue to do exactly what they did yesterday, which is win, easily handling the Pittsburgh Steelers. John McMullen was down at the link to take it all in. I'd say it was a pretty good day, John, wouldn't you?
Yeah, this is the way I expected this game to go. I kind of said on the show last week. I mean, I didn't see any way Pittsburgh was even going to be competitive in this game, and it's kind of how it shook out. I mean, the Eagles dominated, and look. I said it yesterday on the post game show, Jody. This is a good team, and they keep putting these hurdles up, and people say, well, bad opponent, rookie quarterback, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. That's why I said it wasn't going to be competitive, but we know this league, and everybody has bad weeks and everybody has bad games, and the Eagles keep finding ways to get over these hurdles. And the bye week is one of those hurdles because Nick said one thing in front of the cameras, but the Eagles put up one of his team meetings on their website. He was giving them examples of teams that had good starts and came out of a bye and were playing a lesser opponent on paper, and they laid an egg. It's happened before. It didn't happen to the Eagles. They completely dominated that football game, and they should have. And they get better and better each week.
When you combine a team that's playing very good football, Eagles, against a team that's not playing very well, Steelers, you get what you get, which is a 3-touchdown lopsided victory, 35-13, which between you and I didn't think it was really even all that close.
No,
it was actually more of a domination than the final score may have indicated. And that was one of those hurdles. You used the word hurdles. The Eagles had not played a full 60-minute game. They had played enough of them to go 6-0, which is kind of all you want to see. But if you're striving for perfection, like the quarterback seems to be, that's all that he talks about. We still can get better. We still can get better. We can
it's amazing. The standard, it is funny because I'm writing about that. I wrote about it, and they keep talking about the standard. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni. They never define it because it doesn't exist. They can't reach it. It's you can't be perfect. And Jalen finally gave it up yesterday. I asked him the question. I said, and he admitted, we're never going to reach it. Because you're always striving for better. Even if you win every game, even if you're the 72 Miami Dolphins, they didn't play perfect every minute. There's always a little bit better you can be. And that's the impressive part to me, Jody, is how many people have bought into that. And it starts with the good players because A.J. Brown was the first player up on the podium after the game. And he was exactly like Jalen Hurts. He wanted to talk about the plays he didn't make before he talked about the plays he did. He was really upset that he had the one drop. He was really upset that he got caught from behind on what could have been a fourth touchdown. And he didn't want to talk about the touchdowns. He wanted to talk about the plays he left on the field. Jalen does that constantly. It's pretty impressive. I mean, I talk about human nature a lot. When you play well and they celebrate, I'm not saying they don't celebrate, but you generally want to kick back and say, I did a pretty good job. At least with the stars of this team. Sorry, Jody. At least with the stars of this team, they're like, I could have done this. I could have done that.
Did Brown talk about taking the penalty after the touchdown when he pointed to his defenders, which that's a subjective call. There's some subjectivity.
That bothers me.
Yeah, it was really kind of like calling him on the carpet for something that wasn't all that harsh. Now, I got in a debate with my buddy on CBS Sports Radio last night who said that they should have forgiven DJ Moore, who scored the touchdown last play of regulation or close to the last play, got the game tied in the Panther game. He took his helmet off. That's obvious. You take your helmet off at the 15-yard penalty. AJ Brown went like this. He pointed a couple of times, and they threw the flag on him, which I thought was a little, what do we say all the time, John? Over officiated.
Yeah.
Over
I'm one of the most famous plays in recent history. If you watch it, we always talk about it. Marcus Williams, the week before the Minnesota came here to get trounced by the Eagles in the championship game, was the Minnesota Miracle, Stephon Diggs. If you watch it, he takes his helmet off, and here comes all the flags. The whole place is going bananas. The game's over. He takes off his helmet to celebrate. No, the flags come in. Yeah, the league is kind of silly with this stuff, but that is the rule. And he talked about it. He said 1, 2, and at the time it was 2. Ultimately, he got 3. I don't like those calls. Mike Missinelli was asking me on the post-game show, and I didn't even say it because I'm at the stadium, but Jason Kelsey, evidently, when he came out of the game, he put on a Batman mask.
You didn't see the Batman mask? They showed it on television.
I saw it later, but and I talked to him about it. But my mentality has always been, if you're an opponent upset by stuff like that, just stop the other team, and they can't celebrate. I don't care. A taunting, I don't care about that stuff. If you don't want that to happen to you, you'll play better. It's always been my sentiment.
Here's where I think you draw the line, because I understand what the NFL is trying to do. If you're physically threatening, if you're getting up and bumping into another guy and you're escalating a situation that can lend itself to emotions taking over and somebody's starting a fight, okay, yeah, I get that. Pointing at a guy after you beat him for a touchdown? Come on. Keep that flag in your back pocket.
And you said it well. There's got to be some common sense involved. Yeah, you're trying to stop the escalation. It's a very emotional game. I get it. You don't want fights to start. But there's common sense involved. And somebody pointing at somebody reaches that level. Now, the problem is, Jody, you never know how the other guy's feeling, right? So if he's so upset that he might take it as disrespect. So I get the NFL's thought process, but I mean, Jerry Glanville, no fun league back in the day. There's too much of that. And, they allowed celebrations back in the game, which I applauded. Remember, for many years, you couldn't celebrate. You had to celebrate. There was very stringent rules. You couldn't have these team celebrations, which I don't like, by the way, but I don't have a problem with them either. You couldn't do that, and for a very long time, and they allowed them back in the game. And all right, if you're going to be that stringent on taunting, why are you allowing them back in the game? I mean, people could get upset every time any NFL team gets a turnover. What do? They run down as a team to celebrate in front of the it's become cliched. Why isn't that taunting? I don't know.
Right, because you're not doing it in the face of the opponent. Again, it's a tricky thing, and when the NFL gets it wrong, we're going to call it out here on Birds 365, and I thought they messed that yesterday. But let's knock it off on a tangent. When the Eagles win 35-13, they dominate the entire game. Jalen Hurts throws 4 touchdown passes, a career high. So many things went right in this game yesterday that we do want to touch down over the course of the next 2 hours. I don't want to get off on a tangent about celebration. We should be celebrating Jalen Hurts, certainly AJ Brown, because he may, at the end of the day, be the biggest offseason acquisition in the National Football League. In a league that is dominated by quarterbacks, and some major quarterbacks move this offseason. You might have talk about winning wages. You might, if you can make a bet on that. I don't know how you decided, because it'd be subjective. Kind of like when the NFL throws a flag for over celebration. He has just been stone cold dominant, whether he got a penalty or not. the first touchdown was purely an athletic play by him that I don't know too many other guys in the league have the even capabilities of mentioning. How good was A.J. Brown yesterday in your eyes, Joe?
Yeah, man. A lot of Randy Mossness with that first touchdown I thought was a bad throw, one of the few bad throws in the game from Jalen Hurts. Seen it live from overhead, I'm like, well, that's double coverage, all right. And Minkah Fitzpatrick did a really bad job trying to defend that pass. But even with that, AJ Brown, yeah, I mean, he just went up and mossed the two of them. I think Terrell Edmonds was the other in double coverage. And then the other two touchdowns, those were just perfect throws by Jalen Hurts. He's really good at that go route, sort of mid range, 25 to 35 yards, dropping it in a bucket. But also, A.J. Brown shows those late hands, as he likes to call them, puts them up at the last minute. And that's what Randy used to do. And I remember it's kind of fun when you look back and you talk to these guys. He was working on that throughout training camp. We had discussions about that on numerous occasions, and he was working on it, working on it, working on it. Wanted to add it to his game, and then you see it in a live game, and you go, "Wow, look at what he's able to do." And then, yeah, I mean, that he said that was the first time he was ever caught from behind. He had a chance for another in the NFL. He had a chance for another touchdown, and he had a big drop that he thought could have went for a touchdown in the middle field. I don't think it would have been a touchdown, but the confidence of these guys. It would have been a big play. And that was a career high for him, receiving yards and touchdowns. Could have been even bigger. Yeah, he was dominant. Unfortunately for AJ Brown, everybody's like, another player of the week, another player of the week. Nah, Christian McCaffrey ruined that later in the afternoon.
Yeah, a couple of guys had big games around the NFL, and Jalen Hurts wasn't going to get player of the week either, but maybe personal player of certainly this year and or his career. Man, is this guy advanced? John, it was probably a half hour, maybe an hour after the game, which I felt when I felt the need, because you and I have talked about it plenty on Birds 365, and we will continue to talk about it. He's made himself a $200 million man. He's going to get a 4 or 5 year contract. It's going to be in excess of 40 million. It may be in excess of 50 million. The way that he's played, and this is not just off to a quick start. Hey, that's a very impressive game. This is 7-0, and him being a major part of every single Eagle victory so far. He's ranking in the top 5 in NFL quarterbacks in almost every single category. When you're talking about a contract extension at this time, we're talking about a $200 million man in Jalen Hurts, John McMullen.
Yeah. I mean, he is playing at such a high level. And those, it was funny. We always talk about dual threat quarterbacks in this league. And I think a lot of teams are tilting that direction more and more and more because of players like Jalen, not only, but Lamar and, but Jalen as well, and even Kyler Murray. But he called himself a triple threat in the press conference yesterday, and that to me is the most impressive part of Jalen Hurts is the mental aspect. He's reading plays correctly. He's putting the football where it should be. He's the two touchdowns, the two go route touchdowns, he sees AJ Brown in single coverage, and he's putting it in a position to where it should be. He's getting the Eagles out of bad plays with some of these kill options. He's number 2 in the MVP race, and if you look at all the betting markets, and he probably should be behind Josh Allen, but he is number 2. I mean, he's number 2.
Yep.
And who knows what happens? A lot of football to play, but he's having an amazing, amazing season. This team's been around since 1933, Jody? No quarterback in the history of this franchise has won 10 consecutive starts. Jalen Hurts has.
Yeah, 10-0, put them over the top, broke the tie with a bunch of guys. Yeah, we know. They got beat by Tampa last year, but we're talking about regular season games. 10 in a row, any team, any place, anytime, anywhere is phenomenal football. And he's done so here in Philadelphia, and the first one to ever do it. So, yeah, for those of you, and there are very few left. When the season started, Johnny Mack, you and I kicked this in last year before the Eagles season, and where people go with Jalen Hurts. Why are we going to this guy? You should have kept Carson Wentz. A lot has changed during the year and change history of Birds 365.
And look, there was, you know, I talked about AJ in the late hands. Another cool aspect of seeing this development is, you know, Nick Sirianni. Nick says things that sometimes become trite because he says them so often, you know, a dog mentality, things like that. And you kind of get used to it and maybe even roll your eyes a little bit. But with Jalen Hurts, he always said, and he always says to this day, I don't know what his ceiling is, but he's going to reach it because of his work ethic and his desire to be the best player he can be. Well, I mean, he's surpassed any ceiling that I thought he had already. And so I don't know what his ceiling is, but I'm with Nick. He's going to reach it. It's tough to poke holes in Jalen Hurts right now. And that doesn't mean he's not going to have bad games. Everybody has bad games. You can go back to, you know, the two best regular season quarterbacks I've ever seen are Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, certainly in the modern era. They had bad games in the primes of their careers. Everybody's going to have bad games. That's not going to say he's not going to have a bad game. But right now, it's tough to poke holes in Jalen Hurts.
I'll take Sirianni's stance to another level. Not only whatever his ceiling is, he's going to reach it. When he gets there, he's going to stay there because of his work ethic, because he put so much time and effort in, because he is so dedicated, because he set such high standards for himself. And oh, by the way, if this is his ceiling, I'm okay with that. There doesn't have to be further growth. There might be, don't know that, but it doesn't have to be. It's like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And the Eagles can't win a Super Bowl with his quarterback play and everything else they got going for him. I'm telling you, it's not going to be on the quarterback. It's not going to be on Jalen Hurts. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald, Mac and Mac guys. Oh, I see him. He's in the green room, ready to rock and roll. We're lucky enough to have Jeff Mosher from InsideTheEagles.com and
Inside the Birds.
InsideTheBirds.com and website. Coming up next, always good. Love when we have Moshe on. Jeff Mosher next with us here on Birds 365.